Next is a prepared speech. Tricia Zygmunt, Walsh County, elderly driving.
In Santa Monica in 2003, an 86-year-old man hit the gas instead of the brake and drove through the middle of a busy farmer's market, killing 10 people and injuring 70. Then in 2005, a 93-year-old Florida man hit a pedestrian and continued driving with the body in his windshield. Both of these examples are from the 2008 article, Introduction to Senior Citizens in Driving at Issue. Elderly drivers that lack the physical or mental capability to drive are a problem. To better understand this problem, we must look at its extent and its causes so that we can try to form a solution. Accidents involving elderly drivers are widespread. On May 19th of 2009, in North Dakota's Benson County, 93-year-old Faith Mitchell hit two motorcycles after crossing the center line, killing a young pregnant woman and severely injuring her husband and their friend. The couple was married only 4 days prior to the accident. The friend of the couple had to endure 10 surgeries, including having his foot amputated. Unhurt in the accident, Mitchell continued on to her home after having visited the Spirit Lake Casino. She was cited for driving on the wrong side of the road, and her license was suspended because of her questionable ability to drive, and she was fined only $20. At first, Mitchell announced that she would fight the charges because she thought she didn't do anything wrong and should be able to drive. But later, she dropped it. Then, on August 3rd, a Ramsey County deputy pulled Mitchell over for changing lanes without signaling. She was driving again. She was cited for driving with a suspended license and for having no car insurance. She claimed she was driving an old car home that she had had repaired in Devil's Lake. State's Attorney Lonnie Olson pushed for Mitchell to receive the maximum penalty, which was 60 days in jail. He believes that she doesn't plan to stop driving due to the fact that she bought a Cadillac on July 19th and she has many other vehicles registered to her name. It is the position of the state that the public must be protected and must be protected from unsafe drivers, states Olson in the Grand Forks Herald staff report, 93-year-old woman sentenced on driving charges. At the hearing, Mitchell pled guilty to the charges. She received $375 in fines, and Judge Donovan Foddy warned her that if she drives without passing a driver's test, that she would receive 60 days in jail. He also informed Mitchell that he doesn't want her to give her 60 days in jail, but he also doesn't want her driving. In the article, Introduction to Senior Citizens in Driving at Issue, which I mentioned earlier, the American Medical Association estimates that as the population ages, drivers ages 65 and older will be liable for about 1/4 of all fatal car accidents. As you can see, this is a growing problem. There are many reasons why older drivers don't want to voluntarily give up their keys, and why so many more of them are involved in traffic accidents. Living independently is often determined by one's ability to drive. They fear becoming socially isolated and dependent on friends and family if they're forced to give up their licenses. The decision to drive is also influenced by highway conditions and maintenance. Bad lighting, badly designed intersections, faded street markings, and small fonts on road signs are big obstacles for elderly to overcome. As people age, they experience many medical constraints on their ability to drive. They undergo changes in eyesight, hearing, attention span, memory, reaction time, reflexes, and flexibility. For example, these changes would make it harder for an elderly driver to see when reversing or merging into traffic. Not only are their eyesight often impaired, but they have difficulty turning their head enough to check for clearance. Many people think that they'll never get into an accident, or that accidents like the Faith Mitchell case only happen far away. The majority of people also think that they'll never get Alzheimer's, dementia, or in this case, a loss of motor skills. Faith Mitchell thought that she was perfectly fine and capable of driving. However, Judge Foddy disagreed. According to Anastasia Niedrich's May 2007 article, restrictions on elderly drivers are necessary from the Daily Utah Chronicle. The Department of Transportation statistics report that drivers over 75 have higher rates of fatal motor vehicle accidents and people over 75 have the highest rate of pedestrian deaths of any age group. You can't guarantee that you won't be on the sidewalk or in the car that an elderly driver happens to hit. Now that we've mentioned how profound the problem is and what is causing it, let's see what we can do to try to help solve this problem. If you notice that your loved one is having a hard time reading road signs, gets lost frequently, or is just plain frustrated while driving, maybe it's time to talk to them about giving up their keys. It's a hard conversation to have, but it's one that must be done. Also, there are minimum age restrictions on driving, but there aren't any restrictions on elderly drivers. No state has age limits on driving, and at this time, only 2 states, Illinois and New Hampshire, require behind-the-wheel tests for drivers starting at age 75. Many believe that if drivers were required to renew their licenses in person annually starting at age 70, that accidents and fatalities would decrease. The AARP thinks that more knowledge instead of laws will help prevent future problems. City planners are trying to find ways to make driving easier for the elderly by making larger traffic signals, changing sign fonts, protecting cars making left turns, improving lighting, using larger construction cones, including more rumble strips, making signs with larger numbers and letters, and widening lanes. Car manufacturers are doing their part too. They're paying better attention to window views and seat height, and making larger mirrors and better crash safety. There are many things that could help make driving easier for the elderly, and overall, safer for everyone. Now I have told you the extent of the problem, the many causes of the problem, and some possible solutions. Elderly drivers that lack the physical or mental capability to drive are a problem. It is our duty to work towards reducing this problem and making driving a better experience for elderly drivers so that hopefully a body never has to take a ride on the windshield of an elderly driver's car again.